welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 416th film from 2021. It's the adult animated dark fantasy called The Witcher: Nightmare of the Wolf. This is directed by Kwang II Han, and it stars the voices of Theo James, Lara Pulver, Mary McDonnell and Graham McTavish. I'm Jesse, I'm your host. Thank you for joining me here today for this Netflix original film. As always, if this is a film that you haven't seen before, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on, because as we go, I will spoil this show. It is very, very hot here in Australia at the moment, so it is. I'm struggling a little bit with the humidity, so I do apologise if I take some longer pauses than normal, because even just talking, I can feel the sweat dripping off my forehead. Apologies to those in the Northern Hemisphere who are struggling through the cold at the moment, but yes, it's very hot here. So let's get into this film, The Witcher: Nightmare of the Wolf. We start off with our Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one's about some mysterious attacks that happen in a village, and witches are blamed, putting them on the outside and wanting to prove their worth. There we go. This is obviously a part of a franchise, the Witcher franchise, which Netflix has heavily promoted and put money into over the years. And I got to put it out there early, I have no connection whatsoever to this franchise. I know that Henry Cavill plays some role in it, and that's it. So I'm coming to this from a bit of a newbie perspective. So if you're a fan of the Witcher franchise, you're probably not going to enjoy my takes or my understandings, because I know nothing about the series. So I'm coming at this episode is me just watching this as a film, my understanding of the film from what I watched in this 80-minute film. So let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about how this ended up on Netflix, everything about the film. So the tagline for the film, it's "Face Your Demons," and I get that makes sense, because this film is about demons and hunters who face demons, I guess, or different versions of demons throughout this fantasy type world. On Netflix, their logline for this film is sword-swinging action, eye-catching animation, and emotional storytelling expand the world of The Witcher in this prequel to the hit live-action series. There we go. Netflix themselves are even calling their show a hit. And I guess, everyone knows, most people would know about The Witcher, so there we go. While you watch Netflix, the little line that they have there, it says, "Escaping from poverty to become a Witcher, Vesemir slays monsters for coin and glory. But when a new menace rises, he must face the demons of his past." Oh, there we go. Very good. Translations around the world. So obviously the title, The Nightmare of the Wolf, that plays in with The Witcher and with the mythology and those types of things. Around the world, the subtitle of The Witcher, instead of Nightmare of the Wolf, it's Wolf's Nightmare. Polish have that subtitle as Wolf's Bane, and Chinese has it, in China it has Nightmare of the Wolf. So everything translates across pretty similarly to, very similar across the world. This film, as I said before, it's a prequel spin-off to the Netflix series The Witcher, which in itself is based on a book series. So we go back to January of 2020, where Netflix announced that an animated film adaptation of The Witcher was in the works from Korean animation studio called Studio Mir. The writer, Bo DeMayo, explained that the team chose to make the film animated rather than live action because it presented them with some exciting storytelling possibilities. I'll probably touch on that a little bit later. The film uses a mix of both traditional and computer-generated animation, and when designing Vesemir, our main protagonist in this film, animation director Kwang II believed he shouldn't be too handsome, but he had to be quite good-looking and appealing because he's the main character. There we go. He's animated pretty masculine and I guess pretty good eye candy in an animated film. For a majority of the character designs in the film, the team aimed for a European/American style, with the exception of this character called Tetra, whose design fell more closely with the Japanese anime style. During the virtual Witcher Con event in July 2021, there you go, this series is so big they have their own con event. A date announcement teaser was released. So a teaser trailer was released on July 21 of 2021, and followed by the full trailer on August the 9th of 2021. Netflix also have a special on the service called Nightmare of the Wolf Bestiary, and this is a behind the scenes of the creatures that appear in this film, as well as the lore that's in the film, the mythology, the origins. I watched it after I watched the film. I felt it was pretty ordinary. It felt like a YouTube video, to be honest. So anyway, it may be if you're into this whole series, that works for you. So this did hit Netflix on the 23rd of August 2021. And it was nominated for one award at the Annie Awards, so the Animation Awards, for Best Animated Special Production. If we go back, I believe this same Annie Awards was where Mitchell vs. the Machines, another Netflix original animated film, won the Best Animated Feature as well. Not this same category, but it did win at those awards. Let's talk about the consensus. We start with Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes, this film sits at 100%. It is not very often we cover a film on this show where a film sits at 100%. So that's on 28 reviews too, so not minimal. That's all right. The audience is a little bit lower. Obviously, 100. You can't go higher than 100, but it sits at 83%. That's on more than 1,000 ratings, though. On IMDb, it sits at a 7.2 out of 10 on 55,000 ratings. So again, super, super high. And on Letterboxd, it sits at a 3.5 out of 5 on 47,500 ratings. It's been logged by 63,000 people, so good ratings there. And Metacritic, again, on that traffic light system of red, yellow, and green, with green obviously being positive, the critics have it at 67 out of 100 on 5 reviews, so that's green. The audience, 6.3 out of 10 on 237 reviews, also green. So, super, super positive all round for this film. So, I know you're all eagerly awaiting my early thoughts. What are my early thoughts on this film? So, it's fast-paced, and at times it's a little bit hard to keep up with if you aren't knowledgeable in the lore of the series, I think. But it works fine as a standalone film. Personally, I don't really care about the different creatures that are put on, almost on show or on display, as I have no knowledge of the franchise. But other than that, it does work as a standalone for me personally. So let's get into the film. It's a short runtime. It's hard to actually, for me to speak about the characters, I guess, because I don't know the backstory of them. So I'm only going based on what I see in this film. But Vesemir, our protagonist, it's done through flashbacks, so it makes it hard too. So through the earlier stages, a servant boy, seen through these flashbacks, who wants to escape the poor family situation he faces, I guess, and he wants to better himself. And this includes going through abusive training almost, and a commitment to a cause to become a witcher. And then we see Vesemir in his older years. He's become more cocky and more arrogant and more into himself, and happy to abuse the money that he earns through temptations like alcohol, booze, and women. I guess the villain in this film, Tetra, this is this powerful sorceress, I think, not necessarily a witch, but a sorceress, who wants to rid the world of witches. So obviously, big conflict there with Vesemir. And the background, I guess, that we discover through this film as an audience is that she believes that witches killed her mother. So that's why she has such anger and hatred towards witches. The other big character in this film is Lady Ilana Zerbst. She's the opposite of Tetra. She supports witches, and this is because she's the aged love of Vesemir. In the flashbacks in the childhood, we see the love between Vesemir and Ilana, and Vesemir has to leave to follow this path to become a witcher, and leaves her behind. So I think this is a tricky character, because I'm not too sure about her character. Obviously, witches, and because of what Vesemir goes through, he doesn't age much, but she obviously ages, and we see in the youth, or the flashbacks of her in her youth with Vesemir, we see that she mentions she wants to settle down, she wants to have kids. This representation feels a little bit off, because then in her age we see that she's mature, she's got power, she's obviously a lady, so it's a very interesting, and I don't know if this is covered in the show, but we don't get to see that progression, only through a few little plot points. Deglin is another character. He's a witcher who Vesemir sees as his way out almost as a child, and throughout the film he becomes a mentor and a friend throughout, even though he possibly as a character himself is part of the reason as to why the witches are so disliked by the village and the town. There's an elf king called Phil, apparently is from season 1, and it's almost like a little cameo as to why that character is in the film. Kitsu is another villain. It's like an elf fox type character who apparently isn't that bad, and is only doing what they do because of actions and transformations and mutations, and the other side characters. Luca, this is Vesemir's a companion that's almost there just to kill off, and Rydrick's another character too, and he's the reason, and he's the one who mutates and creates witches, but he dies in this film, so I'm not sure how that makes sense if this is before more seasons of the show, so I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll keep going. Obviously, I said before, I don't know the backstory of this world. The director, Han Kwang II, a lot of animation work, directed the TV series The Boondocks, which I haven't actually seen, but I've seen that poster many times before, and if you've seen that poster, you'll be able to visualize in your mind that same style that's in this film as well. He also directed the Stitch, the Disney TV series too, and has worked on the animation for a variety of other films like Batman Death in the Family, Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge, the TV series Voltron, Legendary Defender, as well as The Death of Superman, many, many more. So a very capable and professional animator. The scenes. Let's talk about some scenes. What worked, what didn't work. This is hard. In a short little animated film, it's very hard to put everything together. I really like the start, the cool Netflix logo that you see whenever you start a Netflix original program. It had all this Witcher stuff that was really cool. Got me engaged straight away. I liked Vesemir. He sort of... this was random. I wasn't expecting it, I think. I believe it's got an R18 plus rating in Australia on Netflix, but there's a scene where he's chatting to the elf guy, Phil, and he's in the bathtub, and it's just like, what's going on here? And then just full gets out of the bath and full nudity. I wasn't expecting that, so I'll put that in because an animated film, it just blew my expectations, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised based on other things I liked, like the battle scenes. They're all so well animated, and I guess as long as you're not afraid of some blood and guts, you'll enjoy them too. They're just so well and done, put together, as well as those illusion type things that occurred. Don't know the actual name for them, but they were cool, where there's these illusions that are made in someone's mind to believe they're seeing something. I did also like the story between Vesemir and Alana. I think through the flashbacks you see the connection they have as kids, and then obviously the reveal in the dungeon almost, or where he's being held captive, of her revealing her older self, and the concluding battle where she's injured, and Vesemir takes her away to a lake. He creates this lake which has been in her visions of what she wanted to do, and I just liked that. I thought that was quite nice. Very well done as well. And the things that I didn't like, there's this one this little pet hate, I guess. The final battle, it's one of those, and I guess they intercut things which makes it better, but it's one of those generic battles that you see at the end of every sort of Lord of the Rings or Marvel film. Just this, armies upon armies fighting against each other. I don't know. It would have been nice to see something different in a film with such a short runtime. Anyway, what's the film trying to say? What are some themes, some ideas, some motifs? It's trying to say a lot in a little time. Not necessarily does it really well, but that idea of moral ambiguity and reckoning with your past and those decisions that you make. The idea of greed and temptation of money is seen through the witches. There's obviously more to life than money. I also think that it's very important to think about that man is the greatest monster of all. Also, the idea of love and that idea of leaving behind those you love to follow your dreams or your ambitions as well. Revenge plays a part, the idea of vengeance for loss of family. Witches, apparently they don't hesitate. That's something I needed to take away if I want to follow this series on a bit further. The ideas of, or the dangers of playing with science and mutations and cloning and those sorts of things, that plays throughout as well. I like the motif of that cake. The idea of Vesemir and Alana, they steal that cake, they eat that cake, that gets them into trouble. Then one that's left behind by Vesemir when he leaves, and at the end, that connection between the two of them over that cake again. And finally, the idea of difference too. Killing, it's easier than tolerating. They want to kill witches rather than tolerate them, and this is everywhere in our world, so that plays true too. What else did I take away from this film? I think, like, credit where credit's due. The animation in this film is top notch and extremely well done throughout. Like, you're not going to see a lot of more, like, it's the style, the visuals, the color, the movement, it's all done so well. So I've got to give that a big tick of approval as well. All right, some questions, some pondering, some thoughts, some ideas. What the opening scene? The opening scene is the introduction to, there's a family. It's like a noble family, a black family that are absolutely slaughtered. My question is, like, why did it have to be a black family that was slaughtered? Representation in film's a tricky thing, and I don't know. Obviously, I don't know this series, so I don't know that this surviving black kid Sugo is obviously there at the end, and maybe he plays a bigger role in the series, and it's more a cameo than anything else. But I don't know. It just felt a bit off from someone that doesn't know the series. And then this kid, like, I guess he's the only survivor of this attack, and he goes back to the town and tells everyone in the town, including Tetra, this villain, that a witcher saved him. But this Tetra chick still argues to all the royal people that witches need to be rid of. It felt a bit weird, and I don't know the backstory of the characters, but I was like, it just felt abrupt. The only other thing, I guess, and I understand people that know the lore of this world would understand, but the whole medallion thing, I get that it plays a big part, but I feel like in this film, if they wanted people to have a better understanding of these things they wear around the neck that vibrate and they play a big symbolic moment in the deaths of characters, I needed more on what they mean. What's the big deal about these medals? And I have done some reading, so I understand it, but I'm talking a little bit more about watching the film for the first time. I didn't get it. I'm ready to wrap this one up. We give the films on this show a rating out of 5. For me, my final thoughts, I think, like, it feels like at times this, as I think I mentioned this probably when they were talking about the film, but they made this as an animated film to show off things that couldn't be done in a live action version of this series. I get that. That's cool. That's really cool that people that enjoy this series can do. And yes, the animation, it's cool. It's not too bad a story, but it did feel a bit rushed, maybe because I didn't get everything that's in it. And I know it's hard to make a standalone film for a series to, uphold the expectations of fans as well. I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was good. I thought I understood the narrative and everything that was happening. That was all fine. I just would have liked a little bit more background to some of the other little lore pieces that are in the film. But I'm giving this a 3 out of 5. It's still a solid score for me. We're on socials. We have Facebook. We have X, formerly known as Twitter, as well as Instagram. Give us a follow. Give us a like if you can. Interact with some of our posts. The question, and this probably ties into what I've been saying, the question I'm putting on social in relation to this film is, does this film work without knowledge of the Witcher verse? Like, do you need to, is this more enjoyable? If you're a fan of The Witcher and you get everything that's in it, is this more enjoyable? Let me know if you're a fan in the comment on social. Other than that, we are back again next week for another Netflix original film. Next week we have, obviously, we're still in 2021, so it's a film from 2021. This one's a teen romantic comedy called She's All That. Very exciting. I'm excited actually for this one. It's directed by Mark Waters and stars Addison Rae, Tanner Buchanan, Madison Pettis, Peyton Mayer, Rachel Lee Cook, and Matthew Lillard. Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, as well as this film that I have had on my watch list since it came out. So I'm excited to watch this one. I hope you are too. If you want to join in next week, give it a watch. Other than that, thanks as always for listening, and I will see you next week.